Hey, it's David. Welcome back to the Bobber build, and let's carry on sorting this front mudguard out. Now, if you remember in the last installment, I was actually starting to build the front mudguard, and I'd welded one side on and the other side hadn't managed to weld at all and had fallen off and all sorts of problems. Well, I found out what my problem was. At some point I knocked the switch on the welder and turned the power down from 1 max to 1 min. The problem with these welders, not a lot of it's either this or that, and there's no in between, with the result that the welds were too cold and it wasn't welding properly. So I fixed that, and let's have a look at what I've done. So I've welded on this side. Now I'm not saying, now this is looking quite ugly down here, but that's because I've actually just laid some extra weld down to cover some places where it hadn't actually welded fully. And again, that's not the best weld in the world, but at least you can see that it's properly welded. And the same here, I've just added an extra bit of filler weld in so that I can grind it down. Now, this is not too bad. It's a little bit tight under here, to be honest with you. But it's way too tight down here. Because the problem is, if you get something caught in a tyre or a stone or something like that, it's gonna rip straight into the back of this mudguard and either cause damage to the tyre or it will get lodged in the mudguard. Potentially it could take you off if it locks the front wheel off. So that needs to be fixed. To be honest with you, I'm tempted to cut this off and start again. But before I do that, I'm just going to try filing out this hole at the bottom here to see if I can lift the back of the mudguard a little bit. And maybe do the same here. Now, of course, the problem is that I rounded off these corners way too early in the build. Well, it made sense because it was much easier to do it when it was like this. So we'll see. So let's get a bit of filing done and see what it looks like. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to grind right across here, cut these off and remake them from scratch. Because now I've done this, I know where I made my mistakes and I've got a couple of new ideas. A little bit of filing has improved the situation, and I reckon that in itself is not too bad. I reckon I could do a bit more filing. I could replace the tabs on the bottom here, just cut them off and weld some new tabs on. That would cure that, and it would allow me to lift it high enough. But I'm just not happy with the tyre clearance. Not sure how visible that is on camera, but it's only a couple of mil. So it's coming off and the grinder's coming out. Oops. Okay, so remocked up. Now I've left those tabs on there because that's roughly what I wanted. If necessary, I will cut them off and weld new tabs in there because they do stick down a little bit far. But the objective here is to gain a little more tyre clearance than we had. Still not massive. I may need to adjust it. These hose pipes are a bit thin. But the objective is, say, to have some tyre clearance. Now I've got plenty of clearance under the tyre, so that's now looking about right. So now I want to make up some new tabs to come up here. Okay, let's be a bit more brutal. Get right back to basics and start again. Now there's some weld inside there, which just needs to be ground down a bit, but that's going to form the base of what I'm going to weld to with the new struts, so no big deal. Right, I've changed the design for the mudguard supports. I really like the old design. I had wavered between what I'm doing now and what I did then before, and I chose what I did there. I wanted the vertical ones that paralleled the forks, and I wanted the support bar across that had the punched holes in. But to be fair, that look doesn't actually match anything else on the bike, so it's a bit hit and miss. But there were just too many things wrong with the way I'd executed it, so I've changed the design. I've gone back to the other alternative, and yeah, this is down to you, Mackie of Cambridge Pinstriping. He suggested it was a thing that was already in my mind, and he was right, so that's where we're going. I'm sure his concept is probably different to mine, but let's have a go at this and see how it works out. Right, so this is what we're now looking at. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a support brace in there. I've been thinking about it. I could make one, but I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. In fact, let me give you the actual proper view. So that's, I think, where we're going. I've tried to get them as evenly angled out of the forks as I can. That's why it's more even if you look dead on. They do look a little bit strange, but primarily what I've done is I've hit them at 90 degrees to the mudguard on both sides. So even if they do look a bit odd, that's how they actually work. Now what I need to do now is have a go at welding these on. I didn't bother you with the making of the brackets because they're exactly the same as how I made the last one. So let's have a go at welding and see if it makes any difference. You will see there is a lot more space down the side of the tyre than there was before. Still not perhaps as much as I would have liked. I think I needed a bit more bending on this. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to do a bit more bending on this and then see about welding. So, mudguard tacked on. Now here I tried, this was the first one I did because it's the most easily accessible. That I did more of a weld on, but then I realised it's quite difficult, it's quite awkward being on the bike, especially around the other side where you've got the brake caliper stuff in the way. I decided I would just tack the next ones, which is a bit of a pain. So these are tacked on. So now what I'm going to do is take them off and weld them up. Now, that's a pretty short video today, I think. I'll find out when I come to edit it, but I'm quite sure it will be. But a very long day in the garage or in the shed for me. I spent a lot of time making up brackets. I've not shown you because it's exactly the same thing that I did in the previous video. And I'm not going to make you sit through that, nor am I going to make you sit through all of the grinding, the endless test fits, the endless bolt the mudguard on, unbolt all of the brackets, take one bracket, file it, bolt the mudguard back on, still doesn't fit, take the mudguard back off, take the bracket away, file it, bring it back, repeat 20 times. It's just not the sort of stuff anybody would want to watch. Now, the mudguard's not finished yet, but it's pretty close to its final form. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. Next episode is going to be some more work on the mudguard, but it's going to be more finishing work. So again, it's probably going to be a fairly short video, but it's going to be a long time in the making. I'm just going to wheel the bike outside so I can have a proper look at it. So let's go and have a look. Now, one thing more that needs to be fabricated on here is this speedo mount, because the problem with this is that on full lock this actually touches the tyre. Now granted, you're not on full lock very much, but even so, there needs to be something which just keeps this off. And the mudguard's the only thing that comes at all close. There's no brackets, there's no nuts or bolts or anything down here. I mean, unless I loop some wire around here and run a stiffener up here, that's possible, so that it stays out. Otherwise, it's pretty much got to run off the mudguard. That's where we are. So thanks very much for watching, and I will see you guys again soon.